Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to AMC Mail Bag on this Sunday, February. My goodness, it's already February. February 2nd, 2014. My name is John Campea. I am the editor-in-chief of AMC Movie News. Welcome to the show. This is just our very casual, laid-back show where all we do is just, we talk movies, and we talk it very informally, very casually, off the cuff. Probably talk about some things on this show that we wouldn't talk about on AMC Movie Talk Monday through Friday. And all we do on this show is just take your questions via mailbag, and we leave some time at the end for live questions as well. And I'm going to let you know what we normally do is I normally have somebody else here with me to watch the chat board. So we normally take some questions from the mailbag, and then what we do is we take questions from the chat board. But since I'm alone by myself today, it would make my life a lot easier if instead of putting your questions in the chat board, use the chat board just for talking amongst yourselves. There's some great conversation going on in there already. But if you have a question, email the question to me at, here it is, amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Once again, that's amcmovietalk@gmail.com. It's just a lot easier for me to keep track of the questions that come in when we have when it comes in the mailbag instead. Just a reminder to everybody, people get mad when I don't remind them about this. I'm sick. I've got a cough. That's all I got left, but I have been told that the cough is probably going to be around for a few weeks. So you are going to hear me, I'm smacking my lips and having lozenges in my mouth and sipping on tea. But that's the only way I can really get through the show. So please bear with me as I do that. So what we've got here is, and it's Super Bowl Sunday. It's Super Bowl Sunday. And for those of you who've been watching me for any period of time, I kind of have my foot in both worlds. Normally you're either like a jock sports type or you're a nerdy geek culture techie kind of guy. And I actually have my foot in both worlds. Like my passions are movies and sports. So I'm really excited about Super Bowl Sunday. I love it. Legion of Boom, baby. Go Seahawks. Don't get me wrong. I love the Broncos. Love Peyton Manning. I was so happy that about the season that they had, and I'll love to see Peyton Manning win another Super Bowl. I would, but I'm cheering for the Seahawks today. So Legion of Boom, LOB. And after we're done the show here today, I'm actually going. I don't know if any of you guys read HitFix. HitFix is a really great movie news site. And one of their de facto editors over there, his name's Chris Tapley, a really good friend of mine, runs In Contention. And but quite often, every other year, I go to Dennis's and watch the Super Bowl, and then every other year I go to Tapley's and watch the Super Bowl. And this year I'll be going over to Tapley's to watch the Super Bowl. Anyway, so we got 6 questions today from the mailbag. I'm going to take those, and then I'm going to go to the inbox. Once again, that's amcmovietalk@gmail.com, and get the questions that you guys are sending in live, and we'll do it that way. So without any further ado, let's get started with the first question today. And the first question today comes to us. Who does it come to us from? It comes to us from Eric Faust. And Eric writes, "Hey guys, I just got hooked on your show a few months back. Love the movie news." Oh, thanks guys. I was wondering, what was the chances of seeing the sequel to I Am Number 4? The Power of Six, and possibly the other books, translated into a movie. I love the first movie so much, but have heard nothing about a number. Well, or about another. I Am Number 4 is an interesting film. I'm just going to pull up some stats here that I should have pulled up earlier. For box office. Okay, so the thing about I Am Number 4 is I actually didn't dislike I Am Number 4 as much as most people did. Now, I went to see I Am Number 4 with with 3 people. And when we came out, it was at a press screening, all 3 of them hated it. And I thought, yeah, it wasn't that great, but I thought it was okay. I actually thought I Am Number 4 was okay. I really quite liked Teresa Palmer in it. I thought she was really good in it. And some of the action looked pretty slick. I think it could have used some more action. But the reality is most people really hated it. And I mean, that's the great thing about movies is that it's subjective. So even though most people hate it, you can still love it. And obviously you really liked it. But financially, it didn't do spectacular. It was made, the reported production budget was $60 million. So you add about 25 million on top of that for marketing. So now you're at 85 million. The movie made about 150 million worldwide, but you take away about 50 million of that for movie theaters, for the film exhibitors, the people who actually show the movies. So you take away about 1/3. So that leaves it with about $100 million on an $85 million budget. And then there are producer cuts and back-end deals and whatever. So I think it's safe to say that I Am Number 4 probably broke even and maybe even made a little bit of money. But here's the problem. When your first movie only breaks even, makes a little bit of money, and you'd only spent about $60 million on the production of it, and the critics hated it, and most film fans didn't like it, then there's not a lot of incentive there for a studio to do another one. And I'll be honest with you, by the end of I Am Number 4, even though I did not love the movie, I was curious to see another one. I wanted to see what happened next, but it doesn't really make any sense for them to do it because they're almost guaranteed not to make money if they do another one, and that is just not what the studios are in the business of doing. The studios are not in the business of losing money or just hoping to break even. They're in the business of hoping their movies make money, and it really doesn't look like an I Am Number 4 sequel could do well. So I really don't think you're probably going to see an I Am Number 4 sequel, unless they do like a straight-to-home video thing, a straight-to-Netflix thing, where they do it on like a $10 million production budget, a $5 million production budget, and then maybe you can see it on straight-to-home video, but I don't think you're going to see anything like that in the theaters. All right, let's move on to the next question today. And the next question today comes to us from Dewan Porsche. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, sir. Love the show. Thanks for all your hard work and the movie info. My question is, will we get to see a Dragon Ball Z reboot? After that insult to the franchise garbage of an attempt the first time, I would love to see a live-action DNA movie that does the franchise justice. Thoughts? Thanks in advance. Look, here's the thing. If any of you guys have watched me for any amount of time, you know that I am absolutely committed, no matter what, to always tell the truth about my opinion, no matter how popular or unpopular it is. And I know a lot of guys really like Dragon Ball Z. No, they're not going to make another Dragon Ball Z movie, nor should they. Dragon Ball Z is a silly little thing. John, how could you dare say that? I know, I'm sorry. But remember, that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. And I'm not going to be one of these bullcrap artists who sit here and just tell you what I think you want to hear. I'm not just going to say what I think you want to hear. I'm not like that. And I know a lot of you are going to get mad at me for saying, but remember, it's just my opinion. But since you're asking me, my opinion is Dragon Ball Z is pretty stupid. It's pretty childish. And I've watched it. I remember a buddy of mine was really into Dragon Ball Z. One of the funniest dudes I've ever known in my life, actually. A really cool guy when I lived up in Saskatoon. And he watched Dragon Ball Z, and I watched some stuff with him. And it's pretty silly and childish. And I'm sorry, grab any adult who has never seen Dragon Ball Z, all right, and sit them down and play that for them and ask them what their impressions are. They're going to say, oh, this is great for 7-year-olds. But again, that's just my opinion. You know, that doesn't mean I'm right. It doesn't mean you should think the same way. That's just my opinion. But here's the thing about Dragon Ball Z, though, that even if you love Dragon Ball Z, you have to agree with this. If you were to make a Dragon Ball Z into a live-action film, it's either going to come across as really childish to be like the cartoon, or, and this is the part people I don't think would like, or you'd have to change it so much that it really wouldn't look like the Dragon Ball Z that most people know and love. So a live-action Dragon Ball Z movie is either going to come across as really for children, or you'd have to change it so much to make it a decent film for adults that adults may like, that it wouldn't really look all that much like or sound all that much like Dragon Ball Z. So I don't think a studio's ever going to try it. And I don't think they should either. It wouldn't make money at all. But so my thing is this: if you love the Dragon Ball Z cartoons, then my opinion is you probably shouldn't even want them to make a Dragon Ball Z live action movie. Now I often get this. Okay, this is what people give to me all the time when I ever say, "Hey, that wouldn't work. It's child blah blah blah." This is what eventually everybody always says to me. They say, "Well, John, if you got," and some of you have heard me say this before, but they say, "John, if you got like Christopher Nolan to direct, and you gave it like $150 million budget, and you got a great script, like some Academy Award-winning writer scripts, and some great actors, and real studio support, then it could be good." Yeah, but if you take anything, I could make, where is it? Here, hold on a second. I could make a movie about Felipe, the sentient dancing microphone. And I can say, "Hey, guys, I've made this character called Felipe, the sentient dancing microphone. Look at him dance. Look how much fun Felipe is having." Okay, so I've got this character, Felipe, the sentient dancing microphone. And I said, "I want to make a movie about Felipe, the sentient dancing microphone." And to which everybody will say to me, "John, you're crazy. That's a really stupid idea." And I could say, "But wait a second. You get Martin Scorsese to direct it. You get Aaron Sorkin and a couple of other Academy Award-winning writers to write the script. You get Daniel Day-Lewis and some of the other best actors in the business to be in it. And you give it a $200 million budget. And you get a studio really behind it. Then you could make a good movie about Felipe, the sentient dancing microphone." Look at him go. Felipe's awesome. I'm going to write a script for him. Anyway, but do you see how dumb that argument is? You could say about anything. Get a world-class director, a world-class script, a world-class budget, world-class studio, blah, 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 and you could make it good. Yeah, you put all those things together and anything could theoretically be good. The question becomes, are you positioning yourself for the best chances of success with, say, starting off with the story of 12 Years a Slave? Is that a better starting position to make a great movie? Or is Felipe, the sentient dancing microphone, a better starting position for success? And since it's Superbowl Sunday, let's say this. Peyton Manning could take the ball, no matter where on the field, and march down the field and get a touchdown. But does Peyton Manning have a better chance of getting that touchdown if he starts on his opponent's 30-yard line or if he starts on his own goal line? Sure, he could still go down the field and get a touchdown even if he started on his own goal line, but he's in a much better position for success if he starts on his own 30. And I would suggest that you are not in a good starting position for success with a Dragon Ball Z property trying to turn it into a live-action movie, even if you had a great director, great script, great budget, great studio, blah, 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 blah. But I will never give up my dream, ladies and gentlemen, of Felipe, the sentient dancing microphone. Anyway, that's all I got to say about Dragon Ball Z. I know a lot of you guys are going to be mad at me, but you guys don't want me just to say what you want to hear, right? Like, because only idiots and morons only listen to people who already say things they already agree with, right? I mean, the whole point of being film fans is we get to disagree and say things that we have different opinions on and exchange and give ideas. And just because I think one way doesn't mean you should. Just because I don't think Dragon Ball Z shouldn't work as a movie and wouldn't work as a movie and shouldn't be made doesn't mean you should think that and you shouldn't try to get it made. You asked my opinion, so I gave it. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Christopher Campbell. And Christopher Campbell writes, I was wondering, do you think there will be another Star Trek movie with Chris Pine as Captain Kirk and Zachary Quinto as Spock? I think the first two are very solid films, and I would like to see another one come to the theaters. However, it does not appear that a new one is being planned. I understand that this might be because J.J. Abrams... I lost my spot there. Okay, that J.J. Abrams is very preoccupied with his responsibilities with Star Wars. What do you think? Could they get a new director and film it within the next 3 years? Well, as a matter of fact, Christopher, they are planning on a new Star Trek film. They're absolutely doing it. Paramount Pictures put out a press release a long time ago announcing that they are moving forward with a Star Trek 3. J.J. Abrams won't be directing it, but they say he's attached as a producer. But I got a feeling this is one of those situations where, yeah, J.J. Abrams is the producer, but he's not going to do anything on the film. Like, he's just putting his name on it. Now, there was for a while, I can't remember the name of the dude, but the guy who directed Attack the Block and who co-wrote Ant-Man with Edgar Wright. I'm forgetting his name. But there was word for a while, Joe Cornish, I think, maybe off the top of my head. I could be way off. But anyway, you know the guy I'm talking about. He was there was a word going, there were reports going around that he was attached to direct the next Star Trek, but then those reports kind of went away. So I don't think they have a director lined up yet. Actually, you know what? I bet they probably do have a director, and we just don't know who it is yet. But as far as I know, make no mistake about it, they are absolutely making another Star Trek film. No doubt about it. They are absolutely doing that. So rest assured, you will see a Star Trek 3 with all the cast returning. It'll just be with a different director, and we just don't have a timeline yet, but it's happening. All right, the next question comes to us from David Mendiola, who writes, I was wondering about the possibility of a movie regarding Captain Marvel. I know that there was apparently something in the works before, but it seems that the success of Man of Steel has changed DC's focus, and we haven't heard anything since. Do you think there is room in the DC movie world for Shazam? Considering his power set is very similar to Superman's, could his magical nature fit in with the setting that's been established so far? How likely do you think a movie at some point in the next 10 years will be? Well, I mean, it was canceled long before Man of Steel, but yeah, there was a Shazam movie in the works, in the planning process. And Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was actually apparently all signed on to play Black Adam. He was going to be the villain in the film, which I think would have been fascinating. You know, I love it when we get guys who normally play heroes playing villains. I love it when guys who we always see as heroes come in and play a villain. I think that's really cool. I think that would have been really cool for The Rock. But at some point, they gave up on it and they pulled the plug on any Shazam movie, and that's unfortunate. But this question about the powers of Shazam being magic-based, that's a big question that's come up a number of times about this new DC cinematic universe, right? Like with Batman, Batman's a man. He operates within the world of science. And even though it's kind of science fiction-y, they at least make up things to make it sound like it fits within the world of science. Man of Steel, there's really nothing supernatural about Superman because they explain everything in scientific terms. Even though it's science fiction, they try to explain everything in the terms of our natural world. You know, Superman's powers come from the fact that his DNA is different. Our yellow sun, the radiation from our yellow sun soaks into his cells, and his cells produce all these abilities that Superman has. So nothing is mythological about it. And so we had this question the other day about, well, you know, with Wonder Woman, what do you do with her Greek god's background? Like, what do you do with the fact that she's supposed to be like the daughter of Zeus in one incarnation of Wonder Woman? And the Greek gods and guys like Hades and all these kind of things. What do you do with that in a movie universe where you have apparently tried to establish everything in a scientific explanation, feasibility kind of world? And, you know, we've talked about the Wonder Woman thing, that I think there's a possibility they may say that Wonder Woman is actually a descendant of Kara Zor-El, who crash landed on Earth thousands of years ago, and that's the spaceship that Kal-El, Clark Kent, found. And you could explain it that way without having to go into mythology or magic or anything like that. That's a possibility. The Warner Brothers may totally go with the Greek gods. But that also brings up the question about Shazam. Right, Shazam is based on magic. So what do you do with that? Is DC ready to throw open the floodgates and say all of the supernatural is totally fair game? The Greek gods, magic, all types of mythology, whatever, it's totally open and fair game. And I'm not saying they shouldn't do that. I'm just saying I don't know that that's where they're at. I just don't know that the position they are taking right now is to go that way. Because like with Flash, his powers are scientifically groundable, right? And there are other heroes. Green Arrow is a hero who's just a normal human being. So you got all those types of characters. Aquaman, you can even, get away from the magic part of that and say this is all grounded. This is biology. This isn't supernatural. This is biology. Because he's Atlantean and all this kind of stuff. And the fact that they were bred and grow under the extreme pressures of the bottom of the ocean. And you could do all that. But then you get characters like Wonder Woman and characters like Shazam. It's going to be interesting. If I were the head of Warner Brothers, I would probably use Shazam and use Wonder Woman, and I would probably find ways to change their background a little bit so that it becomes more grounded, like the other characters they have already. I don't know that that's necessarily the right thing to do, but I think if you do it that way, it presents less problems for your universe as a whole. And remember this, DC is trying to make a universe as a whole. And when you're focused on the big picture and you're focused on your overall universe, that means you give what is best for your overall universe priority over what is best for this one character. So maybe for Wonder Woman, let's stick with Shazam. Maybe for Shazam, what is best for that character is to keep in the magic element, but that might not be what's best for your overall universe. And your characters serve your overall universe. Your overall universe doesn't serve your characters. I'm not saying I'm right. This is just kind of the way I'm thinking about it right now. So if I were the head of Warner Brothers, I would be thinking big picture. What is my overall plan for what I want this DC cinematic universe to be? And then I would adjust the individual characters appropriately so they fit into that universe rather than trying to make my universe fit individual characters. And that's just one of the challenges you face when you're trying to bring these different characters into one film. You have to create a world in which they can all inhabit together and have it make sense. So the philosophical rules that apply to one are within your cinematic universe have to apply to the other, and you got to find a way to make that work. And it's challenging, and that's why there are executives at Warner Brothers who make a lot more money than I do because they have to make these decisions. And it's going to be very interesting to see how they deal with those. All right, time to move on to question number 5. And question number 5 today comes to us from Dan Tahandra, who writes, love your show. I am super excited about the new Steve Jobs movie based on Walter Isaacson's book. After having watched Lincoln, I felt that Daniel Day-Lewis would be great for the role of Steve Jobs. What are your thoughts on the best candidates to play Steve Jobs? It's an easy thing to say the greatest actor alive today, maybe the greatest actor to ever live, Daniel Day-Lewis, would be great for this movie. I mean, you could say that just about anything, right? You could say, playing Captain Kirk, get the greatest actor who ever lived, Daniel Day-Lewis. Whatever role you want to say, it's kind of easy just to fall back and say Daniel Day-Lewis. But this Steve Jobs movie, and don't be confused with the one that Ashton Kutcher was in. That's a different Job. That movie was Jobs. They are making another studio, I think it's Sony, is also making a Steve Jobs movie being scripted, and I believe the script is now done, by Academy Award-winning screenwriter Aaron Sorkin, who, of course, won his Academy Award. I think he might have won a couple, but I know he won the Academy Award for Best Screenplay for The Social Network. He wrote West Wing. He wrote Newsroom. He wrote a lot of stuff, and he's just one of the best in the business. But it's not going to be a lot like the Isaacson book. The last I heard, Sorkin was talking about the screen. Now, this was years ago, like going back to 2012, but I believe Sorkin said this. This was just when he was getting started writing his screenplay, and he might have changed his mind. But Sorkin said that he was writing his Steve Jobs movie, and his movie was going to be 3 scenes only, 3 30-minute scenes. And each scene was going to be backstage of an Apple product announcement. The first scene would be backstage of the announcement of the first Mac computer. The second one was going to be for the Apple Next, I think it was called. I might be forgetting the name of the product. And then the last scene was going to be backstage at the announcement of the first iPod. And I believe Sorkin said he was writing his script, so the whole movie takes place in those 3 moments. And we see what happens. And he said it was a very different way to write like a biopic of some ways. In many ways, it's not really a biopic per se. But it sounded interesting. Now, I don't know if Sony went for that and if Sorkin stuck with it. Maybe Sorkin went off and had a new idea and started doing something completely different, which is what I suspect he probably did. But if he stuck with that original plan that his Steve Jobs movie was going to be 3 30-minute scenes, that's kind of fascinating. I don't know if it'll work, but it would be kind of fascinating if that's what he did. Anyway, so last mailbag question today before we go and take questions from the live chat board. The last mailbag question today comes to us from George Saminos, who writes, "Hey AMC, love the show. I recently read an article about the possibility of Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man in Guardians of the Galaxy. At first I thought it was garbage, but there is actually a lot of evidence towards it, such as the comics now including Iron Man in the team, Kevin Feige teasing a surprise appearance in Guardians of the Galaxy, and most importantly, the original Iron Man 3 end credit scene where Stark gets a call from Star-Lord and flies off into space. Do you think an appearance of Iron Man is likely, and do you think it could work?" Well, for those of you who don't know what George is talking about, I wish Anne was here because Anne is the Guardians of the Galaxy expert in our family. She's read everything that's ever been written about Guardians of the Galaxy, and she's read. But yeah, Iron Man is, I don't know if he's in the Guardians of the Galaxy or just working with the Guardians of the Galaxy in the comic books. And yes, Kevin Feige has teased there's going to be a surprise. And yes, there was a rumor some time ago that Marvel had filmed a scene. The original end credits scene of Iron Man 3 was not going to be Iron Man talking to Dr. Bruce Banner in a therapy session, but was rather going to be Iron Man getting a call and then flying off into space. Let me tell you right now, that's not true. That scene was never shot. There are going to be some people who swear up and down, yes, it was, but it wasn't. That scene was never shot. That was never going to be a part of the movie. That's just speculation on some people's part, trying to put 2 and 2 together. Kevin Feige saying that there's going to be a surprise appearance. Well, almost every Marvel film has a surprise appearance. And could Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man pop up for a scene in Guardians of the Galaxy? That's possible, but the notion that Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. could be in Guardians of the Galaxy or for anything more than just one quick cameo is ludicrous. There is no way the studio would be able to keep that secret. Just no way they could do it. It would be impossible. And considering how popular Robert Downey Jr. is as Iron Man, if he was going to be in Iron Man for like 3, 4, or 5 scenes, if he was going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy as Iron Man for 3 or 4 or 5 scenes, Marvel would be marketing that. They wouldn't be hiding that. Because Robert Downey Jr. would be the biggest star in that movie. Iron Man would be the most recognizable character in that movie. They would be putting Iron Man in every commercial, in every poster, in every trailer. Even if he was just in it for 2 scenes. Even if he was just there for 2 scenes, I guarantee you half of the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer would be Iron Man. Even if he was just in it for 2 scenes. Because he is the most recognizable. He is the biggest star power. He would be the biggest draw. And let's face it, Guardians of the Galaxy is going to need some help at the box office because nobody knows who the hell they are. I mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy to some friends of mine the other day who aren't really plugged into the movie universe. And they're like, the who, the what? And then I tried to explain it to them and they said, that sounds stupid. And when you explain it, Guardians of the Galaxy does sound stupid, but it's awesome, but it sounds stupid if people don't know anything about it. So trust me, if they were going to have Iron Man in there, they would be marketing it. If he wasn't there, there's no way they would have been able to keep it a secret, nor should they have kept it a secret. Those rumors about them shooting that scene and him shooting off into space, not true. And so, but still the possibility exists. Oh, and don't forget this too. I believe Robert Downey Jr., we remember just recently he negotiated his new contract. I believe that new contract he has is to appear in 2 films. And everybody is pretty positive that Marvel is going to use those 2 films Number one, obviously, for Avengers 2, and number two for Avengers 3. So I don't think they're going to use up one of their contractual obligations with Robert Downey Jr. to appear in Guardians of the Galaxy, unless they were really going to use him. So I don't think there's much chance, but who knows? He could just pop up of, end credit scene. Hi, I'm Iron Man. And that's it. I mean, that possible, quick cameo, end credits or whatever, possible, but him actually having any kind of a role in the film, completely not going to happen. All right. With that being said, we're at a half hour already. I see our chat board is just rolling like crazy. You guys are having some great conversation. Is somebody saying something about my Twitter? What's going on about my Twitter? Is somebody trying to tweet me? Neat story for you guys. I know this is movie related, but this is a neat story. Whenever I see somebody mention something on Twitter on the chat board, we do an Arrow after show. Not for AMC. I do an Arrow after show on my own personal YouTube channel. And it's a lot of fun, and I have a great time doing it. But I don't know if it was about a month ago, maybe. We're doing the after show, and people start writing. So I noticed on the chat board somebody writes, "Hey, John, Stephen Amell." Stephen Amell stars as Oliver Queen, Arrow, in the TV show Arrow. I said, "Stephen Amell is trying to get a hold of you." And I look at it, I'm like, what? Whatever. And hey guys, I noticed some of you are putting in questions in the chat board. Don't put questions in the chat board. I mentioned this at the top of the show. Because I'm not going to take questions from the chat board. If you're on the chat board, email the question right now to amcmovietalk@gmail.com, because that's the best way for me to get keep track of the questions and everything like that. But anyway, so somebody writes on the chat board, John, Stephen Amell's trying to get hold of you. So I just ignore it. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. But then 4 or 5 questions pop up. No, seriously, Stephen Amell is trying to get you on Twitter right now. And I go to my Twitter, and sure enough, there's Stephen Amell tweeting at me, "Hey, I want to call into your show. Give me a way to call into your show." So I pull up my laptop, open up Skype, and Stephen Amell just came on our after show, and we talked to him for a while. It was actually kind of cool. And ever since I tweet back and forth with Stephen now every once in a while, and I'm trying to figure out something to do for the season finale of Arrow. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Arrow. Now, a bunch of people are saying in the chat board right now that Philip Hoffman has passed away, or that Philip Seymour Hoffman has passed away. Let me just check this out. What's going on here? Blah, blah. What the hell? Philip Seymour Hoffman's died. It was being reported on the Wall Street Journal 10 minutes ago that I'm just going to read this to you as I see it, guys. This is blowing me away. Actor Philip Seymour Hoffman has been found dead in his Manhattan apartment. The New York Police Department is investigating, and the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner is to determine the exact cause of death. I'm reading the story right now from the Wall Street Journal. For those of you just listening in now, Philip Seymour Hoffman has died. The report coming in says this: award-winning actor Philip Seymour Hoffman was found dead Sunday afternoon in his New York City apartment, law enforcement officers said. The New York Police Department is investigating, and the police and the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner is to determine the exact cause of death. The official said Mr. Hoffman, 46 years old, 46, man, he looked way older than that. Mr. Hoffman, 46 years old, was found dead at his apartment at 35 Bethune Street in the West Village neighborhood of Manhattan. Mr. Hoffman won an Academy Award for Best Actor for his 2005 film Capote. So once again, wow, this is the first time we've done breaking news on AMC Mail Bag, but Philip Seymour Hoffman has died. Unbelievable. Wow. Now some people are speculating drug overdose, things like that. Let's not make any assumptions here, guys, about wow. Now, we know that Philip Seymour Hoffman has been struggling with substance abuse, and I know he went in to be treated for substance abuse, but we don't know that has anything to do with it whatsoever. So let's not go on to wild speculation, but yeah, has